Hi Sumate, welcome back to my channel. It's Needles by Tiara here. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to draft and cut a perfect corset back pattern as displayed on the thumbnail. So with me, I have my pattern well laid out, which is this. Now grab your straight ruler and you'd go ahead to roll out a straight line at that point. Having done that, now place your tape from that starting line. So remember, our starting line is going to equally serve as our shoulder point line. Now placing your tape from your shoulder point line, which is your starting line, mark the distance between your client's shoulder to bust point. Having done that, go ahead to impute the distance between your client's shoulder to under bust point. Next, go ahead to impute your client's shoulder to waist point. And lastly, go ahead to impute your client's shoulder to full blouse length point, which is this. Go in with your straight ruler and connect all those points into each other to form a straight line. Having done that, let's go ahead to label our pattern. This right here is my shoulder point line. This is my bust point line, my under bust point line, my waist point line, and lastly my full blouse length point line, which is this. Having imputed all our point measurements, our shoulder point, bust point, under bust, waist point, and full blouse length. Now on your shoulder point line, place your tape from that point and come down by the distance between your client's shoulder to chest point. So whatever value you did imputed for your front pattern for your chest point or your armhole depth, you're going to be imputing that same measurement at this point. So I got this measurement by dividing my bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5, which was exactly what I did imputed for my front pattern. I hope you understand. Now go in with your straight ruler and roll that point into a straight line this way. Go ahead to label this part to be your chest point line, which is this. Having done that, having imputed our point measurements, now we'll go ahead to impute our circumference measurement. On your shoulder point line, you're going to be dividing your client's shoulder circumference by 2 and chalk it down at that point. Minus 16 inches divided by 2 would give me 8 inches. I'll go ahead to chalk it down on my shoulder point. Now, whatever measurement you have imputed at your shoulder point line, you're going to be bringing that same value down to your chest point line. I hope you understand. So bring that value from your shoulder point line down to your chest point this way. Go in with your straight ruler, connecting from your shoulder point into your chest point and extend that line all the way in this way. So please pay attention to what I'm doing at this point and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. So having done that, now for our neckline for our back pattern, for your front pattern, remember you did imputed 3 inches as your neckline width and 3 inches as your neckline depth. Now for your back pattern, you're still going to be maintaining the value of 3 inches as your width, but for your neckline depth, you're going to be coming down at that point by either 1 inch or 1.5 inches. So like I said, impute 3 inches as your neckline width. Now for your back neckline depth, you're going to be coming down at that point by either 1 inch or 1.5 inches. So I came down with mine by 1 inch, which is this. Now place your tape from your shoulder point line at that point. Come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. Go in with your curve ruler, connecting from your 3 inches neckline width into your 1 inch neckline depth for your back pattern this way. With the reintroduction of my straight ruler, I'll be connecting from that point all the way down to the 1 inch that we came down with on our shoulder point for our shoulder slope. Having done that, now on my shoulder slope point line, I'm going to be placing my tape from that point all the way down to my chest point. I'll fold my tape into 2 this way and chalk down the midpoint of that line. Still at the midpoint line, I'm going to be coming in by 0.5 inch. Lastly, at my chest point line, I'll divide my bust circumference by 4 and chalk it down at that point. Going with your armhole curve, connecting from your shoulder slope into the midpoint of 0.5 inch and extensively down to your chest point. So please pay attention to the way my armhole curve is being placed at this point, and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. So having imputed our armhole curve, now we'll go ahead to impute our basic darts. Now on your waist point line, which is this, you're going to be dividing your client nipple to nipple, which is your bust span, by 2 and chalk it down at that point. So mine is 9 inches divided by 2, and that would leave me with the value of 4.5 inches. On my waist point line, take note, you're going to be imputing that measurement, which is your bust span divided by 2 at that point. Now, whatever you have imputed on your waist point, you're going to be taking it up to your bust point this way. Lastly, you're going to be imputing that same measurement on your full blouse length point, which is this. Reintroduce your straight ruler, connecting all those points into each other to form a straight line. So having done that, before we proceed on, let's go ahead to label our pattern paper. So this right here is my center front, which is where the zipper allowance of your back pattern is supposed to sit. And this right here is my side front. So my center front and my side front. So now to impute our basic dart, the totality of your basic dart is 1 inch. Now on the midpoint of that line, which is your dart line, still on your waist point line, you're going to be dividing that measurement by 2 and impute it evenly on both sides of your waist point. So at your center front, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch, and at your side front, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch. So on my center front, still at my waist point, I'll chalk down 0.5 inch, and at my side front, I'll go ahead to impute 0.5 inch as well. Now place your tape from your waist point line and come down at that point by 5 inch or 5.5 inches, which will be the length of your back dart. Now going with your straight ruler, connecting from that point, which is your center front imputed dart, all the way up to your bust point this way. So please pay attention to the way my straight ruler is being placed, and do go ahead to do same for yours. So having imputed the upper darts, now for our lower darts, we're going to be connecting from the 0.5 inch rather imputed on our waist point on the center front down to the 5.5 inches, which is our dart length. So we're going to be doing that for both the center fronts and the side fronts. So please basically watch what I'm doing and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. I hope you understand. So with this being done, we've successfully imputed our darts. Now we're going to go ahead to determine the depth of our yoke. So remember, for your back pattern, you're supposed to impute your keyhole neckline for your yoke. So to do that, we're going to impute the depth of our yoke. So place your tape from your shoulder point and come down by the distance of either 8 inches, 9 inches, or even 10 inches, as the case may be. Now, remember for your back pattern rather, the depth of your yoke is supposed to be longer than that of your front pattern. So for instance, if your shoulder to off shoulder point for your front pattern was 7 inches, for your back pattern, you could go ahead to use 8 inches or 9 inches. But in this case, you can equally use your chest point as well. So I'm going to be using my chest point as the depth of my yoke. So on that point, I'll go in with my straight ruler and I'll be connecting that point all the way in this way. Now I'm going to be extending that line all the way up to my off shoulder point, which is the depth of my yoke for my back pattern. Now let's label this part to be our off shoulder point, or you could call it the depth of your yoke for your back pattern. Having done that, now we'd go ahead to impute the rest of our circumference measurement. On your chest point, divide your bust circumference by 4 and chalk it down at that point. Remember, we had already did this for our chest point. Now we'd go ahead to replicate same on our bust point. Divide your bust circumference by 4 and chalk it down. Now at your waist point line, you're going to divide your waist circumference by 4 and impute it at that point. Remember, for your back pattern rather, you do not have the presence of the bust Hence the reason why we basically do not need our under bust measurement at this point. But so that you do not get it mixed up or confused, that's the reason why I imputed our under bust point measurement. However, once you connect from your chest point down to your waist point, it will automatically accommodate your under bust point. Now divide your waist circumference by 4 and impute it at that point. If you want your waist to be snatched, subtract 2 inches from your circumference measurement for your waist, divide that measurement by 4 and chalk it down. But at this point, I imputed my basic waist circumference divided by 4 without snatching my waist point. I hope you understand. So we have a dart of 1 inch in between. Would have to replace the dart on the sides of our waist point, which is this. Lastly, on our full blouse length point, we divide our hip circumference by 4 and chalk it down at this point. Now going with your straight ruler, connecting from your chest point all the way down to your waist point this way. So like I said, once you connect from your chest point down to your waist point, it will automatically accommodate your under bust point and allow both your front pattern and back pattern to align perfectly on both sides. I hope you understand. Now going with your slightly curved ruler, connecting from your waist point down to your full blouse length. You could do this with either your slightly curved ruler or with your straight ruler. It totally depends on what you did imputed or what you did used as the part of your ruler for your connection for your front pattern. I hope you understand. So basically, I've gone in with my slightly curved ruler and I've connected it all the way up there. Go ahead to blend this part this way. Now at your full blouse length for your hemming style line, you're going to come up at that point by 1 inch. So if you didn't do this for your front pattern, please go ahead to omit this part. Still at that point, to make my hip point, to make my full blouse length point more elaborate, I'll come out at that point by 0.5 inch. Going with your slightly curved ruler, reconnect from your waist point into that 0.5 inch full blouse length extension, which is this. Still with our slightly curved ruler all over again, we're going to be reconnecting from that extension of 0.5 inch all the way in. So go ahead to blend from that point all the way into your bodice this way. So with this being done, we've successfully imputed our basic circumference measurements. Now to get our keyhole neckline for our back pattern, but before we do that, let's go ahead to impute our corset back opening. So for your corset back opening, you could either come in at that point, which is your chest point line, which is the depth of your yoke, by either 1 inch, 1.5 inch, or 2 inches, as the case may be. So remember, my chest point is the depth of my yoke. So whatever the depth of your yoke is, go ahead to impute 1.5 inch at that point and take it all the way down to your full blouse length point. Going with your straight ruler and connect all those points into each other to form a straight line. So with this being done, you've successfully imputed your corset back opening. So as a beginner at this point, these are the points you're going to be attaching your eyelets to. So the points that I'm imputing this dots is the points that you're going to be attaching your eyelet ring to. Hence the reason for this. I hope you understand. So with that being said, like I said, we've successfully imputed our corset back opening. Now for our keyhole neckline, remember we came down for our back neck depth with 1 inch or 1.5 inches, dependent. It totally depends on what you did for yours. Now place your tape from that 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Come down at that point by 2 inches. So the 2 inches is basically if you want to attach a button to your corset yoke. So at that point, you could come down by 2 inches, 2.5 inches, even 1.5 inches. But if you want to attach a fastener, come down at that point by 0.5 inch. So it's either a fastener or a hook. If you want to attach a hook, just come down at that point by 0.5 inch. So for mine, since I want to attach a button, I came down at that point by 1.5 inches. And I'm going to be connecting from that point into the midpoint of my dart line. But if you want yours to be more open, you could come in from the midpoint of your dart by 2 inches or 1.5 inches and reconnect from that point all the way into that point. but this is very moderate. Just go ahead to connect from your 2 inches or 1.5 inches or even 0.5 inch all the way down to the midpoint of your darts. Go ahead to blend that point as the case may be. So at this point, you could leave your lower pattern to be straight, or you could, basically impute a slightly curved point at this point. So to make that point a bit stylish, I'm going to come down at that point by 0.5 inch, and I'm going to be connecting from that point into the chest point of my side front. Or you could equally connect from that point all the way into your dart line. So either way is very much okay. So I'm going to be connecting, like I said, from that 0.5 inch imputed at that point all the way down to the side front of my chest point this way. I hope you understand. So having done that, having imputed this bit of a slight line at this point, we're going to be taking off 0.5 inch to avoid gaping on our yoke. So place your tape from your chest point midline, come up at that point by 0.5 inch on your yoke, and you're going to be reconnecting from that 0.5 inch on your yoke into your chest point on your side front this way. So with this being done, you've successfully eliminated all the gaping that you're going to be having on your yoke, and as well you've gotten your bit of a stylish line on the back pattern. So at this point, you're going to be imputing your buttons. So this is the point we're going to be imputing our button. Now on this part, like I said, we've successfully eliminated our corset back opening. So we'll go in with our red marker and we're going to be making some strokes at this point. So we've successfully eliminated our corset back opening, and we're going to be taking out this point as well and this point as well. So all the points that we've shaded is the points that we're going to be eliminating off from our pattern. I hope you understand. So with that being said, I would go in with my scissors and I would go ahead to cut off all the sides, eliminating all the excesses that we have on the sides. So at this point, please sit back and watch while I take you through the process of eliminating all the side excesses. So if you have watched this video to this point, it simply means that you're getting value of your time well spent on this video. So to see more of this related content, kindly hit on the subscription button, like, follow and share for more of this related content. So with this being done, you've successfully eliminated all your side excesses. Now to detach your upper bodies, which is your yoke, from your lower bodies, you're going to be slashing through the depth of your yoke. So the depth of your yoke, remember, was your chest point line for mine. I'm going to be slashing through that point, which is the midpoint, all the way into my chest point this way. So having detached our yoke, now we'd go ahead to take off the excesses that we have on the keyhole point of our yoke. So we're going to be taking off the excesses that we have at the keyhole neckline of our yoke. So just go ahead to take it off this way. Now we'd go ahead to eliminate the gaping, which is the 0.5 inch that we had imputed on that point. So go ahead to take it off this way. So having done that, for the lower point, we're going to be, remember we came down at that point by 0.5 inch and we connected it all the way into the side front of our chest point line. We'd go ahead to eliminate that 0.5 inch all the way into the side front of our chest point line this way. Having done that, now we'd go ahead to eliminate our corset back opening. So the 1.5 inch we had imputed on this point, we'd go ahead to take it off this way. So having done that, we'd go ahead to detach the midpoint of our dart line. So to do that, remember that we have our dart imputed on both the center front and the side front of our waist point. We'd have to take off that dart. So to take off that dart, we'd go ahead to slash from the midpoint of that line all the way up so that we can go ahead to eliminate the excesses. So please also take notes. You could either take off the start or you could take it off directly from your pattern from your fashion fabric. Now go ahead to label your pattern, your center front, your side front, and go ahead to make some arrow on this point so that you know that once you eliminate the dart on both sides, you're going to be adding some few inches allowance and you're going to be joining it back to form an entire piece, one piece for your back pattern. I hope you understand. So like I said earlier on, we'd keep our yoke aside. For mine, I'm going to be slashing through this point. I'm not going to be taking off this yoke directly on my fashion fabric. I'm going to be eliminating the yoke this way. So having detached the center front from the side front, we're going to be taking off the yoke we're going to be taking off the dart rather that we have imputed on both our center front and our side front. So go ahead to take off from that point into your waist point and take it all the way up this way. So we've successfully eliminated our dart for our center fronts. Now for our side front, we'll go ahead to replicate that same process. Take from that point into your waist point and extensively all the way up to eliminate your darts. So with this being done, we've successfully eliminated our dart for both our center front and our side front. So like I said, this is the more reason why I said you should make some arrow on this point. So you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch on both sides of that line, and you're going to be joining it back together to form an entire one piece for your back pattern. And voila, our perfectly drafted corset back pattern is ready with our yoke. So you can see how beautiful our well eliminated dart is at this point, your center front, your side front, and you can see how it evenly flows from your chest point down to your full blouse length, and how that hemline sits at that point. You could see our well eliminated corset back opening. You could see our beautifully imputed back keyhole neckline. You could see those points that we're going to be attaching our button for our keyhole neckline. You could see how beautiful the shoulder point sits and how it flows evenly down to our armhole point. You could see how beautiful and how pretty all of our hemlines sit beautifully. So this is certainly what you're going to arrive at. Now for your basic sewing allowance, you're going to be adding 0.5 inch on both the dart line of your center front and your side front, and you're going to be joining that part back together with a stitch once you transfer this to your fashion fabric. On your side, you're going to be adding 2 inches basic sewing allowance. So whatever inches sewing allowance you did imputed for your front pattern, you're going to be imputing that same value on your back pattern. I hope you understand. Now on this point, which is your hemline, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch on the keyhole neckline, 0.5 inch all the way round except for your armhole point. Your armhole point, you're not going to be imputing any allowances. You're going to be imputing 0.5 inch on both the upper side and the lower side of your back pattern so that you'll be able to join it back together once transferred into your fashion fabric. So these are all the basic allowances you're going to be needing for your pattern. So at this point, we've come to the end of our well-drafted corset back bodice pattern. Thank you, and I'll be seeing you on my next video.